Hi everyone and welcome back. So first off, I am going to be reviewing the Luis Royo Dark Tarot for you all. A few of you have requested this on Instagram, and I just noticed that there hasn't been actually any YouTube videos that I've seen that review this deck fully. I think there are some flick-throughs and stuff like that, but nothing that really sits down and tells you about this deck, which I've been working with for a number of years now and is super amazing. So yeah, if you'd like to see that, please keep watching. I will warn you right now that this deck contains a lot of artistic nudity. It's quite erotic in some scenes, so if you're under 18, please stop watching this video. Viewer discretion is advised, basically. So the Royo Dark Tarot is a collection of Luis Royo's artwork in a tarot deck, published by Los Scarabeo. And I'll just read you what the little blurb says about it in the white book, because it's quite good. So it says, "The Royo Dark Tarot is born from the ashes of the Black Tarot as illustrated by Luis Royo and first published by Fournier in 1998. At the same time, it is an evolution and the completion of its parent deck." So it goes on to say about how Royo is a master of dark fantasy art, which he is, as I'll show you in some of these cards. And it says here, which is quite nice, "Royo represents a violent and cruel universe where torment and bliss, poetry and desperation are difficult to conceive one without the other." So this deck is dark. It says it in the title, it says it in the little book, so if you don't like dark decks, then this is not a deck for you. I also wouldn't really recommend this deck for beginners either, just because of the erotic imagery and the fact that some of the images don't actually tie to traditional Rider-Waite-Smith definitions, so it's a little bit more intuitive, which I personally quite like because I'm more of an intuitive reader. So basically it comes with the standard Los Scarabeo little white book, which, as we know, there is only one tiny section of the book that is actually in English, and it comes with your standard spreads, the Celtic cross, the other cross, and then it just goes straight into definitions. Some of the definitions are actually quite nice to read. If you're having some trouble understanding the artwork and how it might fit into traditional tarot meanings. But other than that, I normally just go off what my intuition says and what I can read into this deck. So, as I showed you before, this is the box that it comes in. I keep all my boxes for storage purposes, so it features one of the artworks that is in the tarot deck. As far as I understand, it's brought together by two people, so it's Luis Royo's artwork, and then the the collection is edited into the tarot by Pietro Aligo. So there's that. So now I'm going to go on to what the backs look like, which I love. This deck has a lot of sci-fi and fantasy elements to it, which is absolutely amazing. Sorry if I'm talking a little bit rushed. I have some people that are coming over and I just don't really want them to intrude on the video, but I'll try and make this as comprehensive a review as I can. So the back is quite sci-fi inspired. I'll just try and angle it so that you can see it's really detailed and really beautiful, and it reminds me a little bit of like a labyrinth or something that came out of like H.R. Geiger's Alien movies. And there's a lot of inspiration that you can see that Royo has actually drawn from H.R. Geiger. Me being a massive fan of that artist, I absolutely adore this work. He also draws from a Polish artist, Zadyslaw Bekinski, who is an amazing horror painter. So I think he's also a painter because these works to me don't look digital. So now that I've got all that, random practical stuff out of the way, I'm going to go into and show you a few of my favorite illustrations, and they are a lot. Like, I could choose this entire deck for favorite illustrations, but I just went through and picked the ones that stand out to me most. So let's start. So this is the Nine of Chalices, or the Nine of Cups. I hope, there we go, I just have to find the right angle, sorry guys. So that's the Nine of Cups. The Queen of Wands, which is one of my favourites. And there's a lot of detail in these cards as well. As you can see, the English writing is on the top with the symbol for wands, and then the other languages are underneath. So I don't find that too troublesome. As soon as I see where the writing is on top, then I can usually find my way after that. You get used to it. It can be a bit distracting, but I don't see them coming out with a borderless version of this deck because I don't know if it's popular enough, which is a shame because it's one that I love. So this is the Ten of Wands, So as I was talking about before in my introduction deck, this deck currently sits on my bedside table. This is the Ace of Swords. Isn't she amazing? And it features a lot of really kick-ass, really strong, dark, demonic women, which is amazing because it's kind of sacred feminine, but in this dark, sexual, amazing way. It really lets you tap into that kind of power, that darker power. And it also, this is a deck that really tells it like it is. It kind of has this fantasy element, but it's not going to bullshit you if something in your life is going wrong. It's going to point out the obvious to you and say, hey, look, you need to fix this. I have used this deck as previously mentioned. So this is the Hierophant? Yeah, which I love. I love, 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 love. I think it's a really good depiction of the Hierophant. Some of the major arcana maybe doesn't fit to traditional Rider-Waite-Smith views, but that one, in my opinion, does. The Fool, which is featured on the box, which is amazing. Death. I love Death. Look at Death. Isn't she the most kick-ass Death you have ever seen? Like, honestly, she is kicking ass, taking names. She is surrounded by death and demons, and yet, just look at her. She is like death herself. So that's what I mean when there's actually a lot of erotic nudity in here, so a lot. But it's not distracting, it's not too disturbing, it's actually really quite empowering, particularly if you work with that sort of feminine energy, kind of moon energy, dark moon energy, which I do. I find this deck is great for that kind of stuff. Shadow work, perfect, but it also tells me what, like it is in my real life as well. This is one of my favorites as well. So that's just spectacular. That's a Six of Cups. So Six of Swords. So it has lots of vampires, lots of demons, lots of succubuses. That's just the kind of deck that this is. I think that Cups is probably my favorite because it seems that I have picked a lot of Cups in here. So you see it's quite luminescent, which is really beautiful. Oh, the High Priestess is gorgeous. You know when you haven't gone through a deck completely and you're only just realizing how in love you are with it all over again? That's exactly what's happening to me. Four of Swords. Now, I like every single card and image. Some people will find the fact that it's maybe not so traditional a bit problematic, but I don't. Like the Chariot, for example. I drew this card the other day and I was like, yep. Look at that. She is totally in control. Like, she's covered in chains, she has a collar on, but there is no sense of disempowerment here. Like, she is completely in control, and she is gonna kick some serious ass. Now, I was talking about how there are some male figures in this deck which are a bit dominating, or they try to be, but the female figures are so empowered that they actually don't, it's more of like a mutual relationship rather than one male dominating over the other. It's a balance of masculine and feminine energy, which is good because otherwise it could be, too feminine for some people to work with, or too, I don't know, one-sided, or too, and when it becomes with all women and it becomes a bit too sexualized or something like that, some people may have a problem with that. But this is the King of Cups, or the King of Chalices. So again, here we see it's actually the woman who holds the crown in this card. Like, she is actually the main focus in this card. The king himself stands behind her. And he's like the wolf man, right? Talk about, emotions and control. This is one that I went through briefly in my other video. This is the Knave of Chalices. And I absolutely love her. And the longer you look in each of these cards, the more you get enveloped in this world. And for some people it can be a bit of a scary biomechanical horror world, a dark fantasy world. But it can be nice to just path work and just journey into some of these cards. I really like this one for the Two of Chalices. It's probably one of my favorite depictions. It's so sexy. It's amazing. I love it. The Empress, also one of my favorite cards. So it also has a bit of like an ancient Egyptian / biomechanical feel. Sorry, I can't quite get this one to not be so shiny. This one's gorgeous, the Eight of Wands. Oh, love it. See, because the card stock is not that shiny, so it's just the artwork, because it features this kind of really iridescent white that even on camera it's showing up like it's illuminated from within. So that's another one of my favorites. The Star. She is like owner of the cosmos, owner of the universe. I love it. And then you've got your more traditional sort of vampire imagery, which is the Seven of Swords here, like Dracula's brides. And now this one is really sexy. So be warned, if you don't, if you're underage, which you shouldn't have been watching this video, or if you're not, look away if you're disturbed by sexual imagery. The Hanged Man. Sorry about the weird angle, otherwise it's too glary and you can't really see what's going on. Talk about release, talk about changing perspective. Anyway, so as you can see, this is a really sexy deck. So I've shown you the back and I've shown you some of my favorite cards. Like I said, I don't really have a non-favorite. I actually drew the Seven of Chalices today, which is actually a completely gorgeous card. So sorry about that. Somebody actually did arrive, and I have to cut this video a little bit shorter than what I planned and hopefully splice it together and make it work. So as I said, there is no card in this deck that I dislike. The card stock, unfortunately, because it is a bit flimsy, well, it's Los Scarabeo. It's a bit flimsy, and the edges have worn away, a little bit. Like, it impacts on some of the cards. You could probably see that just here. But you know what? I don't really care, because I love this deck so much that it doesn't impact on how I read the deck. So on that note, I guess, like, how do I work with this deck? So as I said before, I've mentioned it a few times, it's really good for shadow working. It'd be good for path work if you don't get freaked out by biomechanical spaces and space and like the alien world and stuff. Those things feature really heavily in my dreams. I actually had a dream about Alien last night, yet again. Yeah. So, my headspace is kind of very connected to that world, and I don't mind pathworking with these cards. Particularly because the female characters or the female stereotypes in these cards are so empowering, and they're really strong, and it seems like they can overcome any sort of whatever demon army or horde that you can see in the background. So that's another really good feature. They're kind of full of enchantresses and seductresses and stuff like that, which is awesome. So if you're looking to do some work with the sort of darker, more sexually empowered feminine side, or if you're looking for a deck that's going to tell it exactly how it is, and a deck that's quite a bit darker, something a bit biomechanical, something that you maybe haven't seen before, I would definitely highly recommend this deck. Like I said before, I've been working with it for quite a few years now. I don't tend to do any sort of standard spreads when I read this deck. I mostly read it like a narrative. If I do need some help or some prompting, there's that one sentence, in the little white book really helps me out. So yeah, I think that's it for this deck, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of this deck. Is it on your wish list? Were you interested to see this deck? Have you seen a review of this deck before? And if so, please point me out to it, because I actually haven't seen one. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next video. Bye!